previous issue.
No, I didn't see that. Did you look, did you search it?
This is again, as right now. For having your money in
No, I did not.
Yeah, because, I mean, and that's going to be part of the
Yeah. Well, how would you say that?
No.
Okay.
I just don't want to say something that you're like.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We're here for our pump station. No. We're good. I think we're all good.
All right, good. Thanks, Al. Okay, welcome.
I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting in Huntington Township, October 23rd, 2025, order. We do have an announcement a couple announcements. We have some listening devices up here somewhere. If somebody needs them, just come forward and Warren will take care of it. This meeting is also being recorded electronically on Microsoft Teams. In accordance with Board Supervisors Policy 2023, the rules of conduct for public meetings and public comment period shall be observed and are listed at the bottom of the agenda. Scott Stilson is doing the filming. And we'll move on to our first action item, which is to approve the minutes of the July meeting. Need a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments or corrections that are needed for before we vote on approving the minutes of July 24th? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, July 24th, 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye.
And just to note, Gary, for anybody that doesn't know, we did not have planning commission meetings in August or September, and that's why we're just doing the July minutes now.
Thank you. We'll now go to the public comment section of the meeting. So when called, provide your name and address for the record. After this, you have 3 minutes to share your comments regarding any matter, whether on the agenda or not, with the commission. Please refer to the rules of conduct for public meetings and public comment at the end of the agenda. So is there anyone on this side that would like to speak?
Valerie Schultz, 165 Caitlin Court. And as you guys know, it's imperative that the anaerobic digester amendment gets approved as soon as possible. Would it be delaying the approval tonight if you guys could add in the wetland setback information into the amendment?
We'll address that question when we get to it in the agenda.
Okay. And then the other issue is I noticed that the proposed rezoning that would allow the 90 townhomes to be put in behind Living God Lutheran Church. It is a major municipal subdevelopment plan, and they did not submit a traffic impact study. Is there any way that that could be moved up before you guys decide to approve this?
On the agenda tonight, it's just a sketch plan. It is not a formal preliminary plan, and it does need possible zoning or conditional use approval. So there's nothing being approved with regard to that plan tonight.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the left side? My left side. How about the right side? Yes.
Hi, my name's Megan DeGarry. I live in West Nantmeal Township, right next door, 2056 Little Conestoga Road. And I'm here for two reasons. First, I want to commend Valerie Schultz for bringing the anaerobic digester, the need for better guardrails to the attention of the township. And second, I want to give my thanks to the Planning Commission for working so hard on it. It looks like a very good ordinance. It needs a few tweaks, but it's really great to see you guys putting strong guardrails in place. It affects all of us in this area, so I just wanted to thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Megan, what was your last name?
DeGarry, D-E-G-A-R-A-Y.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our first subdivision and land development application. And this is a sketch plan, and I'd like to turn it over to Jen and kind of walk us through it.
Sure. This is Living God Lutheran Church subdivision and land development sketch plan. As I mentioned, this is just an initial sketch plan. At times, applicants will submit a sketch plan and request a formal zoning ordinance review to determine if the plan is compliant with zoning or if there's relief or other approvals needed before they would go into a full preliminary plan design and submission. There is no approval time clock on a sketch plan under the municipal planning code like there is for preliminary plans.
And that's because we can't approve it.
Right. Okay. So, yes, I should put that. Ultimately, this development is located in the mixed-use residential district of Honeybrook. It is the tract that the current Living God Lutheran Church is on. So the plan shows, oops, you know what? Let me pull the plan up, I'm sorry. There. So up at the top of the page, that's the existing church area. They are showing a potential addition to the church, but there has been no information provided as to what that church addition would be used for, to determine if any zoning approvals related to the church use or if parking or anything on that side is adequate. So those are items related to the church use that the applicant would need to address. With regard to the townhomes and two-family dwellings, they're proposing 79 townhomes and 10 two-family dwelling units on a private street. They're showing a single access in with a loop through there. This would be a planned mixed-use residential development under our zoning ordinance. That does require conditional use. And as such, prior to or in conjunction with that conditional use application, they are required to submit items like the traffic impact study, woodlands analysis, if there's classified woodlands in the area, and we'd be looking for the plan to be fully compliant with zoning and not need any variances or other zoning relief prior to going to the conditional use. So there's a number of comments in here. I thought their engineer was kind of, oh, there you are, okay. So I'll just give a little intro. We'll let their engineer, crews hiding in the back, talk a little more about the project in general. There are a number of comments and things that need to be addressed and verified with regards to open space, setbacks, roadway types, and like we said, the traffic impact study, where the access is coming out of 322. There's some other existing access drives in there. And we'd be looking at any waivers that they would need from the SALDO. We'd be looking to incorporate those into the conditional use hearing because if they wouldn't get those waivers, that would impact the ultimate layout. So, Gary, before Doug gives his presentation, do you have anything to add? But in general, they're really just looking for overall general feedback on the plan and things that should be incorporated in any revisions before they would apply for the conditional use.
We got an awful lot to deal with. I'm not sure what kind of comments you're looking for from us until you get over some of those other hurdles. There are a few hurdles you need to get over before it's really even a project, but
How are you? Vic Kelly with Commonwealth Engineers. Yeah, we understand. We're at the sketch plan level, and just to kind of give you, we just wanted to come introduce the project and give you a little background on how we got here. Scott Risbin has been involved. I guess you can give a little background on.
Hi, I'm Scott Risbin. I am involved with the Living God Lutheran Church as my parents are members of the Living God Lutheran Church, and they had commented to me a while back that they have had some pretty bad financial strife over the last few years, with the tithing being a little bit lower than what they need to survive and the membership getting a little older. They had asked if I could see if there's anything we could do with the property that they had in the back. I had talked to Mr. Kelly, brought him in. I actually lived in Honeybrook Township for many years. I still own property in Honeybrook Township. I helped build the church back in the early 90s with my parents. My dad was a general contractor. He oversaw the process of the church. So at this point in time, we're looking to do something to try to help them save their church, essentially. So that's where we're at right now, and Mr. Kelly can explain the engineering parts of things.
Yeah, and this is kind of the beginning of every project. Is you go, you do your due diligence. What's the zoning? What's the sewer availability, and that sort of thing. And the first thing that we kind of stumbled upon was that the sewer plant has plenty of capacity, but the issue is trying to get the sewer to the plant. And we're in the Cupola watershed or sewage facility area, and there is a conveyance capacity issue along Cupola Road. So the sewer authority has passed a resolution that only permits 20 units per development that are allowed to go into that main. We've had a couple of meetings with them, and we've been meeting with their staff and trying to resolve what do we do to kind of improve the situation for the municipality or municipal authority as a whole. And one of the issues that we looked at was we're going to need a pump station based on where this site is, even though it's in the sewer service area. I mean, it's in the obviously the high density mixed use residential, mixed use commercial corridor there, which has the road 322, has the sewer, public sewer and public water. But to get into the sewer system, we need to pump up to the gravity line that goes over to Cupola. Now the problem with that is the Cupola, the existing line doesn't have the capacity to get to the pump station. All that being said is we're looking at alternatives to put a pump station on this property, absorb some of the sewer flows from across the street, and pump directly up to the treatment plant through the existing easements. And obviously you need some sort of densities to make that work. So we looked at what are the uses on the property, the single family or twins, and then under the mixed use, you can look at the townhouse and duplexes or twins as far as trying to get more density, which obviously will defray some of the costs. I mean, the initial numbers coming in on some of the sewer are over 2 million, 2.5 million. The improvements that would be needed at Cupola Road are in the pushing 2 million area to replace a 12-inch line with an 18-inch line. So that's kind of been the big driver. With regard to the issues in the review letter, I think a lot of those can be addressed through conditional use. I have spoken with Jen and Mike Reinhardt in the past on certain issues. We're going to provide an emergency access that goes through the church so that we have essentially 2 key access points. And I believe the school district, like the bus will not go through the neighborhood, so we might have to have some parking spots out front. One of the other issues that was brought up was curb and sidewalk along 322, and it is in the ordinance, and I'm not sure how the planning commission feels about it, given that that would be the only stretch along the whole section. It is a PennDOT road, and whether introducing curb and sidewalk makes sense along our frontage. But, those are the kinds of things I think we'll get more into during the conditional use hearing. We are in the midst of working on the traffic study. I was hoping to have a little information for today, but I didn't have a chance to catch up with my traffic engineer. He didn't have a chance to get back to me. We have met with the Brandywine Conservancy to do a walkthrough on the woodlands out on the site. And at least verbally, they've confirmed that the part that we're disturbing is a Class 3 woodland, and we would have to do some mitigation for that, but there's a section that is Class 1 to the south of the pipeline, and that would remain unimpacted. So that would have no disturbance at all in that Class 1 woodland area. And I guess I would further request that we be allowed, there's a little bit of a mix-up, and I'll take blame for the mix-up with whether we were dealing with them directly. We had hired an arborist to go out and do an analysis for us, and they had worked with the Brandywine Conservancy, and I think we're all on the same page, and we want to get the Conservancy to give us their input on what we can do as far as mitigation measures. Really, I think that's, in a nutshell, it is in the mixed-use residential. It's, the whole district is intended to provide for the higher density residential as well as institutional uses and commercial uses. Obviously, the church is an integral part of the community, and we're trying to work with them on how to best implement the plan and provide them with some financial backing to move forward. We do show, in addition, they don't know what they want to do, so there's been some zoning questions and things like that, and I think, Jen, maybe the cleanest way to provide that is just, we can anticipate that there's going to be a certain size addition on the building and provide some additional stormwater for it, but anything that they would do in the future would have to come back to make sure it complies with zoning, parking, or if any of those things change. I think there's enough that we can cover there so that it's...
Right, it may be best with regard to that church to kind of leave it off the plan, just build additional impervious in and note that accordingly.
Yeah.
One thing I want to note, it looks like the agenda packet may have an older version of the sketch plan.
This is the first version, yeah.
Yeah, so if you just want to point for the audience, and I'll point down here for the PC members, where the towns have been replaced by twins.
We've
I think it's
replaced...
down this lower end.
It is. This area in here now is all twins as opposed to townhouses. So there's 79 townhouses and 10 twins, or 5 twin buildings. And also the access moved, we combined the access with the church. And we since this time, initially we were going to put a timeout or a play area on the church property to try to instill the community between the two, the church and the neighborhood. And in discussions with the church yesterday, we thought maybe it's a better idea that we put that on on the east side of our entrance coming in so that there's no liability even if we need to do a cross easement and things like that. So there's a couple things like that that we obviously have to clean up. But that's generally part of the conditional use and land development process, so.
Did I understand you to say that it's 2 million for the sewer and 2 million to upgrade the conveyance line?
We're working with pretty rough numbers. If we went and the sewer authority passed a resolution which says you can only have 20 EDUs. And that's really so that if a development comes in that has more than that, that they have to address the issue of the conveyance line down Cupola, which right now is a 12-inch sewer main, and it gets to the Cupola pump station. And from my understanding, the Cupola pump station has plenty of capacity to go up to the treatment plant, but that last 3,000 or 4,000 feet of sewer main needs to be upgraded from a 12-inch to an 18-inch, and it's very deep and it's in the middle of Cupola Road. As an alternative, we're evaluating whether it makes sense. We need a pump station regardless to at least get into the gravity line out in 322. We're considering an alternative, which would be to take our total effluent and pump directly up to the treatment plant, take the 50 EDUs that are across the street into our pump station and pump that up there as well. And that kind of kills two birds with one stone in that we don't contribute anything to the line in Cupola and we remove 50 EDUs that are currently going to Cupola, to that main. So we're still sorting through that, but there is the capacity at the plant. I guess that's the big thing, and we've just got to get it there.
Planning Commission members have any comment? Question?
What would the open space requirement be?
The open space is 20%, and we're right now at about 30%. So it'd be, the way the townhouses would work is you would buy the townhouse fee simple, and outside the areas would be owned and maintained by the HOA. This would be a private street. And that's, again, one of the issues that the 25-foot front yard would not be from, it's not, we had labeled it a private right-of-way. It's really a distinction and designation. Those are all going to be private roads, private maintained, private plowed. And so that setback, the ordinance also states that you can have 25-foot setback from the curb line, which is intended to give you the room you need to park a car in front of the garage and not interfere with the sidewalk, or have the car backing out onto the, sticking out into the street. So we intend that all the units are at least 25 feet from the curb line or the edge of the carway. So our parking requirements are met. We're required to have 2.25 parking spots per unit, and we've got 2 on-site, on-lot parking areas and 2 garages. So really, different townships or different municipalities look at that differently. We didn't take any credit for parking the car in the garage. We just used the 2 spots behind. We know parking is often an issue. And we have 34 extra visitor parking spots on the project.
So the space in between, in the middle there, would just be open,
That's going to remain wooded.
it's gonna stay wooded?
Yeah, we're going to try to, as much of the woods as we can. The scalloped line along the edge is where we're trying to save the woods. There isn't a pipeline to the bottom of the page there, to the bottom of the sheet. And on the left side, we're going to have to put in our stormwater, but when we plant that, and we know that we're going to have to replant per your ordinance, which is pretty onerous. I don't think we'll be able to do all of that on this site. We have talked to the church about possibly putting some of the landscaping on their property, but we suspect at the end of the day, we're either going to have to look or do something with the township park or other areas that the township's looking to add landscaping and that sort of thing.
Where's the pump station
This was phase one, we were looking at a low pressure, so it didn't, we don't have it on, again, this was sketch one. We're gonna go down between the units, down by the basin. So probably between those two basins.
Over in here.
Yep. Yep.
And you're proposing sidewalk, and your distance from the sidewalk to the house is what you were talking about earlier, to be able to get a full-size vehicle.
Yep. Yes.
The emergency access that you're talking about, where is that? I think I see it on this one.
Well, it's on the second section. It's gonna be right in there. So it'll connect to the church parking lot.
Is there gonna be a second emergency out on 322 then also?
We don't have one proposed now. We could, I mean, there's an existing entrance. Jen, you don't have the second sketch, do you? Is that,
I don't think I have
okay.
a PDF of it, this is what
The-
township uploaded to the packet.
Yeah, if you go back 2 sheets, at least it's the overview. Yeah, there you go. The new entrance. I'll point to you, Jen, so you can use your cursor. The new entrance is going to be roughly here. We're trying to keep our distance from this street. There's a certain distance for street intersections. So we have to have a distance from that. This is an access drive. That's debatable whether we need the same separation distance. So we want to combine it here, whether we could put a second emergency access here. We may be able to talk to the neighbors and put one there. So
So just
this
clarify,
is only a single
you
access.
want to combine this
Yes,
and this
yes,
into one.
yes. Correct.
So you still only have one path in, your emergency access would just connect to this parking lot and loop you back to the same entry point.
And it would just, what it would do is the entrance would be 150 feet. We could do a boulevard entrance, we could do a 30-foot wide entrance, we could make this out of grass pavers, which would give you the 2 entrances. They're very close, but it's, similar. This is a single access for all that. Whether we can talk to them to get another access, I don't know.
But this plan is different than that plan as to where you're tying into 322.
This was sketch 1.
This is sketch 2,
Is that what you have?
I guess.
Yeah, this is the one that was,
In July?
this was revised in September.
So if you would do a boulevard on sketch 2, you would take that boulevard all the way back to the first intersection?
I would think we'd take it to the church if we had an emergency access. I mean, we could. I don't know that we would need it or want it, because one of the items that we talked about was possibly needing some parking out front for school kids for the bus stop. I know we just worked on a project down in Guthriesville where the buses, ironically based on the lack of drivers, won't go into a neighborhood. So they want to,
Private streets or public streets?
private,
They won't put them.
yeah. Well, in Downingtown, they would, under the right circumstances, but this was, again, a stop on 322. So we would put some, 5 or 6 parking spots out front, and that might work well with the tot lot or playground area as well, because it could double for that.
Anybody else
It
have?
almost looks like if you could get something on the back of Heatherwoods and work something out with them, that would get you access further back into the site.
Yeah.
Two emergency access up here doesn't really do a whole lot of good for the ones in the back.
I'm sorry?
I said your emergency access you're showing on this plan goes right into the church parking lot,
Right.
which goes out the same entrance.
Oh, yeah, I
So
understand. That's why I said we could
if
do
that
that.
entrance is blocked, it almost would be more effective if you could get over to Heatherwoods and have emergency access there further back in, if PennDOT allows you to have those two exits from Heatherwoods and yours.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said we could do that as a boulevard, we could separate those by 30 feet. It's only 150 feet or so. You've got the plan there, I think it's about 150. You know, as far as circumstances, we could make that, you know, a 30 or 40 foot wide boulevard entrance with 10-foot separation between it or something.
So you have some things to work out before sewer.
In addition to, yes.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any?
Yes, I have a more fundamental question, and you've made it clear that the church is doing this because they want to raise money for the church. How does this benefit the rest of the community?
Well, I think it benefits the rest of the community that wants to move into Honeybrook. I mean, one of
But
the,
the rest of the community already lives here, so, once again, how does this benefit the community?
well, the zoning is a mixed-use residential. That's your high-density district. That's where your sewer, your water, and your roads are. So that's where your growth is. I mean, by plan, that's where the zoning is intended for the growth to go. I mean, this township is what, 80% agricultural?
But you're still not answering my question.
I am, because it's long-term planning growth. You guys have decided this is the mixed use. This is where we want our density to go. That's how it's zoned.
Obviously, you didn't read the plaques on the wall.
Well, I mean, the alternative is you have no growth, zero growth, and no housing.
Because there's no infrastructure here to support growth. We're already growing by 20% on the projects that have already been approved.
But this is where your township dictated that this zoning and the infrastructure is there with sewer, water, and transportation.
But it does not benefit the community in any way.
I guess you could,
It doesn't.
it lets your kids buy a house in the township.
My kids aren't gonna buy a house.
I mean, then is there a project that benefits the township that is a
There's
development?
nobody standing in line to buy a house in Honeybrook. There's not.
Chester County is one of the fastest growing
I
counties in
didn't
the
say
state.
Chester County, I said Honeybrook. So you're not-
There's not a right answer for
you're
that
not
question.
answering my question. Okay, fine.
There's not a right answer for that question.
Yeah, there is, but you're not answering it, but we'll move on. Go ahead, Chris.
So you heard some of the comments.
Mhm.
The way I see it, you got a lot of hurdles to get over before you really come back to us for any kind of action. So I know there's no action requested this evening, so you heard some of the comments. Thank you for presenting.
I can take on that, one is concerning traffic on 320 already.
And that's part of the conditional use application. Before they get there, they have to have that traffic study done, and they'll likely have I assume you'd have a scoping meeting with PennDOT
Yeah,
ahead of that to have an idea of what PennDOT requirements out there, the debate and placement of that. PennDOT will play a big role in placement of that access point as well.
Has there been any determination of any zoning relief that's needed?
I think there's not enough information with part of the church use, and then, you look at the classification of the street, an access drive, and things like that, and the woodlands, before a full zoning determination can be made. There's some general zoning comments in there that are a bit open-ended, because we need more information to determine full compliance.
It looked like exactly a show they might need zoning relief, but that doesn't mean they're not issues they couldn't make adjustments, so they just need to come back.
yeah, I don't think there's any zoning as far as the proposed use and the proposed density. Everything is in compliance, and it's a conditional use, part of the, typical protocol for conditional use.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said the density and the uses are all permitted by conditional use. So that is a permitted use by zoning.
And you
Just to be
did,
fair, I think the board's gonna wanna see a plan that clearly addresses, is otherwise layout zoning compliant without question, with enough information, so that if the conditional use approval is granted, the layout is the layout, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So, just,
Yeah, understanding that typically through land development, you dot i's and cross t's and all that, sure, understood.
You did say they were fee simple for sale, correct? Not
Correct,
homes.
correct. Correct. All right?
The twins are those, you said they're being sold as a lot within?
No, they're gonna be,
No, okay.
yeah.
It's all just,
The lots are shown on the plan for demonstration purposes, to show compliance.
ordinance requirement.
Yeah, that is an ordinance requirement, and actually the lot areas are on the plan. I believe sheet 7, I think that was one of Mike's questions, but they are on there to show compliance. Lot widths and that sort of thing are demonstrated.
Everything that's not building is essentially common HOAs.
Common element or limited common element, yep, yep. So it would be plowed by trash, a single hauler, single entity. All right?
And then the church is a separate, association, it's because it all ends up being one property as planned, correct?
Yeah, that we may condo that entire property for them. Yeah.
As shown here, is that the proposed kind of where Jen's along?
On the revised one, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, but yes, it would be that lot, it'd be 7 acres, 8 acres, and ironically, when the church bought this property, they only wanted about 7 acres or so. So the seller wasn't gonna split it though. All right?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Our second subdivision and land development application is Northwestern Chester County Municipal Authority. Jen, again, if you could walk us through it.
Yeah. I have printout copies of the submission packet, if any of you want one.
Is anybody from the planning?
It's the same as what we produced.
Need a hard copy of the, they have both the sketch plan and I have a sketch plan review letter, and as a result of that sketch plan review letter, they have submitted a zoning hearing application. So it's E2 on your agenda as well as F1, we'll do them together. So if anybody needs a hard copy, maybe you can if you want. In general, there is what the sewer authority calls the west pump station, located at 3651 Horseshoe Pike. This existing deep lot is back here, existing wet well, generator building. Sewer authority also owns this property to the east. It currently contains an existing house, an outbuilding, a pool, a shed. They need to upgrade this pump station, so what they're looking to do is to expand this way into this rear yard area, in lieu of having, simply consolidating the lots and having 2 uses on a single lot, or having improvements on this lot and needing easements. They are looking to do a lot annexation. So currently, both of these existing lots are zoned ag. They are both under an acre in size currently, which makes them existing nonconformities. They are looking to annex this rear portion of the residential lot after they're removing the pool and the outbuilding to the current pump station lot in order to put the new pump room, generator building, and everything over here. And then the existing house is here. It's almost a flip-flop of areas. This one goes from about 0.6 acres to 0.42, and this one goes from about 0.4 acres to 0.5 something. The house lot lot is connected to public water and sewer, so there's not an issue with like reducing land and taking away septic system placement or anything like that. So one of the variances as a result of the sketch plan review was for this change in lot areas, that the lot 2 around the existing dwelling is becoming further non-conforming because of annexing here. This one is getting an improvement to get closer to that minimum 1 acre for those lots subdivided off of that lot. The second variance request and non-compliance issue was the rear yard setback. This is actually the rear property line here. They do have 2 overlapping 20-foot easements back here through, this is the Sweetwater Farm, the new development there, it's their open space lot. So they do not meet the 60-foot rear yard setback off of here, actually for either building. I believe this one is 11, is that right? And then the other one is 33?
Yeah.
I'm good, 11, yeah. 11 and 33 off of there, they do meet the side yard setbacks. With the lot configurations and the few removals, even with the new buildings, they're still less than what the existing impervious is on the respective lots. So there's no impervious relief necessary. Ultimately, they will need to do a lot of annexation, land development plan with this. But they are looking, and your action item tonight would be on their zoning hearing application to take a position of support against or no position on the requested relief for the rear yard setback here, and to allow this lot to become further non-conforming due to annexing land to allow room for the pump station. So, Gary, do you have anything before I ask them if they want to add anything to the discussion?
No, if they need to add a second wet well, they have the area to do that?
So the reason why we have the layout that we do is that we need to keep the existing pump station in operation, hence why we extended out into the property to the east. So yes, we do have a new wet well and a new pump room to house the new pumps, allowing the existing pump station to operate during construction. Once this new pump station is up and running, it's been tested, we can then divert all the flow to this station and abandon the existing wet well and pump station.
Yeah, I thought I understood that, but, and the 12 by 12 wet well is large enough to handle any additional capacity if you need it?
Yes, so the rated capacity of the pump station is remaining the same, but we do have additional capacity on this pump station to accept more. Primarily the borough and some parts of the township do discharge their sewer here. I believe the borough is mostly built out. If there's any additional flow that needs to come from the township that is already in their sewer area, this station would have additional capacity to handle that, yes.
Anyone else have anything? You want to add to what Jen already presented?
Sure. She did a great job teeing it up. My name is Jordan Pace. I'm an associate at Buckley, Bryan, McGuire & Morris in Westchester, and I'm here on behalf of the Northwestern Chester County Municipal Authority with Alex Barr from Herbert, Rowland, and Grubick. And essentially, the authority needs to, as Alex said, extend out this pump station, which was why the east parcel was purchased in 2024. The authority serves the residents of the borough of Honeybrook Township and some of the Honeybrook Township residents. And the pump station is currently very old. It needs to be upgraded. And the only way to properly do that and keep the current pump station running during construction is to essentially extend it out, keep it running, make the improvements, as Alex said, and then eventually the new pump station will run. The authority did consider purchasing property to the west of where the pump station currently is farmland that has a conservation easement, and they weren't able to make a deal. So that is why the residential portion, which is the east parcel, was purchased, and the pump station is going to be extending out. And as Jen said, we are here tonight for the variances and zoning relief. We want to ensure that we can get that before we file the subdivision and land development application. Alex can answer any more technical questions if you have any.
How old is the current station?
It's approximately 60 years old, so Smith and Loveless Station, which is very typical of that era, we find that we replace a lot of them because we're at the end of that useful life. In addition, the style of the pump station, we are changing the style of that existing one. Everything is in a below-grade chamber, so even just accessing it, maintaining it is really just a pain. So this newer station here that is obviously larger, slightly larger footprint, just allows for better maintenance of the pumps, over the course of their life.
And behind where the setbacks are, that's open space, you said, Jeff?
Yeah, this is the new Sweetwater Farms development, the entrance that's over near where Cambridge comes out. They have a whole deep open space area through here. And like I said, off the property line here, this is shown as 10 foot. I'm assuming it's about 10 foot between the two, and 10 foot here is all existing sanitary easement anyway. So if you count the sanitary easement at like 30, then you're almost 41 to this point, and you're at 73-ish, no, 63-ish to that point. But this is all open space. It's that development, pretty much when you come in off of Petralia with Cambridge, the whole development is like up and to the right. So this is all, there isn't houses real close in this area.
I'm fine with it.
So the sketch plan, there's no action on the sketch plan, that was just used primarily for supporting, help us understand it.
Correct.
So what's in front of us this evening is the action that we're to take is to support or not support or take no position on a variance application number 2025-14 of the Northwestern County Municipal Authority located on 3651 Horseshoe Pike. And the relief or our recommendation or our support or not support is to section 27-1705 F1.
And that's the lot area.
The lot area.
Yeah, so the lot areas for both of the current parcels are non-conforming. They're under the minimum 1 acre. And because we're changing, the west parcel will get slightly bigger and the east parcel will get slightly smaller. So we need a variance for the minimum lot area for both of them.
And then the other section is 27-1705 F6.
Correct, and
For the
that's the
rear.
rear yard setback.
I'll make the motion to support.
Do a motion and a second? Any further questions or comments? I assume the motion is to support?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Too easy to read now. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
So that will be on the board agenda on November 12th.
Correct, yeah.
For the zoning hearing, and then there'll be a date scheduled for the
Yeah.
zoning hearing that report.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Our next item is a special exception request from Benjamin Zook. This is a limited impact home occupation without restriction.
Correct. Is Benjamin here, just in case you have any questions? Okay. On 450 Reservoir Road, there is already an existing rural occupation. He now wants to add like a band mill business, to cut logs for lumber and beams. He says he'll operate a pettibone to move logs and stack lumber to load trucks, and have the log trucks coming in. You can only have one rural occupation on the property. So he's applied for the limited impact home op. The business meets the size requirements and everything related to the limited impact home op, except for limited impact home ops are not supposed to have any outdoor storage, and he will be storing some of the logs and lumber outside. We do have aerial view here. Here's 322 Reservoir Road. So you come up, this is Lawver Circle going out there to the east. And then it's this next larger farm track here with the business operations for the rural lock, and the existing dwelling and everything are in this area. So limited impact home ops are allowed in the ag zoning district via special exception. And then, as I mentioned, we would need the variance to allow the outdoor storage of those logs on this parcel. It is a 72.6 acre parcel.
This is the only occupation, will be the only.
They have a rural occupation, so it would be existing rural occupation along with the, yes, limited.
What is the existing rural occupation?
Put it in here, I'm trying to remember. The property is owned by Jacob Zook. Got a shop in the diesel room, so it might be some type of contractor building trade shop or, limited manufacturing on there. I forget what their exact rural occupation there is.
So is this operating there currently?
No, he wants to start that.
Where would it go?
The band mill itself will be inside part of this one, I think Christie might have meant. Building dairy barn in here, part of the corn fed building in here would be used over here for the band mill. The band mill cutting would be done inside, and then there would be some of the storage outside for the lumber and logs.
But there's no indication where they're gonna stack the lumber on the walls.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, and like, to what extent is there going to be outdoor lumber storage?
Well, I think that's a comment if you want to put in, when you take your position, you can note that your concerns about that variance would be, upon confirming or providing limitations, on the size of the area or buffering, things like that. So if there's any concerns you have with that, you can add in your motion those considerations that can get passed on to the Board of Supervisors for their position and ultimately to the zoning hearing board.
And there's retail sales?
No, there will be no walk-in customers. So it'll all be like cut and then I think it's delivered. But his note says there's no walk-in customers on the property. And he says the noise is not louder than existing residential uses. The band mill's inside the building. And the plan is to have logs and lumber outside.
But cutting for customers won't be.
So tractor trailers though?
He said, Twitter triaxle is,
Like how many?
trucks coming in, it doesn't really say what's going on. Twin axle going out. So what would be an acceptable distance, for the stacking of those walls and the lawn? You're showing 30 feet to the, is it the cow barn? And the corn crib is like 3 times that distance if it's close to that.
Right, it looks like it's, yeah, and here they're showing it's 2,000 feet to the other property line. Or screening, if you recommend like screening from the roadway, it's the concern of what they do there. If we back out to the larger view of the surrounding properties for you. So we're talking about the building that's here.
So there's
So
two
this is all his property from this side, there's a couple.
residences across the street.
And the person operating this isn't the owner of the property? There's a letter from the property giving permission for
I
this?
think he lives on the property, so he may be a child. Yeah, it says this is to give Benjamin's permission to operate in an operational right.
Yeah, just a question.
Yeah,
So this is, proposes a limited impact, correct?
correct.
With a variance to have outdoor storage, but doesn't a limited impact by its definition have to be indoors? Like, wouldn't that just flip it into being a rural occupation?
Well, the issue is there's already a rural occupation on the property. So,
Right, I'm just,
well, I mean, it's the nature of, like, a no-impact home op is fully outside, is fully inside, The limited impact is a little more of a balance, so, I mean, that's one of the,
does it allow outdoors, but you're saying it doesn't normally allow outdoor storage? So it's not a limited.
correct, that's right, he's seeking a variance from that provision of the limited impact home op. So,
It seems cleaner to say you need a variance to have 2 rural occupations and then comply with their regulations. I'm not trying to make it trouble. Yeah, there's plenty of, it's a big farm, I mean.
So do we want to request screening? Do we want to request distance off the road?
I think I want to know more about the outdoor storage and the extent outdoor storage. Seeing as it's not even technically permitted.
I think that we would like to see screen there. And if there's dogs there, what's going on with those dogs, just say it all. What's going on there, on the road? If there's nothing there.
Well, if we're set back far enough, that's going to be one big high wall to get out to the road.
Is there a limit on like how high is the step wall?
When's the hearing scheduled? So
I can
we
check.
may not get to see this again if you ask for additional information, so we can take any of the 3 positions, support it with comments, not support it, or just take no position.
I think the first set of zoning hearings, I'm not sure if this is on the first day that's coming up, for the zoning hearing applications, is November 17th. So
Our meeting's the 13th.
your meeting's the 13th. It would just be the day after the board meeting, so, I mean, the board can
But
take
the
a decision.
supervisors, it won't get to the supervisors, but I guess
I mean, you guys can send your general comments, and if you want to see an updated exhibit, we can always have that on the 13th, and then if you have something additional to add, you pass it on to the zoning hearing board, we can do that.
Is this form also under ag preservation? Does this have to go to?
Said it is in the application.
Does this have to go to? Whoever would give permission under the easement?
Usually if they're adding new buildings, they do have to get permission. I'm not sure about adding
Right, but adding an occupation to.
the limited impact on lot. Beth, your thoughts on that, if that's what I mean, it wouldn't hurt to get a,
Honestly, it's been a while since I read the exact language of the easement document, but it's a fair point. I mean,
it should be reviewed.
probably if they agree, if there's a lot of things that implicate, it would be worth looking at that to make sure we're comfortable that what they're doing is consistent. Well, yeah, right, it should be fine for that, but understanding the footprint
Yeah,
and what the limitations of their
If you're adding a business.
usable area.
yeah, we can have them make sure they get that ahead of the zoning hearing.
So what's the opinion of the commission?
Do we specify distance or that we're comfortable with, or size? I mean, that's only what is.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the, the zoning ordinance requirements for outdoor storage and see if that gives height requirements or distances that you guys could say the outdoor storage should be in conformance with section. I don't remember it.
That's my thought.
907.
Very close to the road, so screening should be there.
Just for reference, if it was a rural occupation, a property over 20 acres can have up to 1.5 acres of the land related to the use. Now, that's a rural option, it's supposed to be more intensive, but just, I don't know. That's pretty more.
I wish it was here so we could just tell us what his.
Yeah, so you could tell us what his plans were and we could say yes.
I think personally, think there should be some setbacks. If the walls are out there towards the road, there should be some setbacks.
Sure.
So what if we,
So they talk about no outdoor storage or display of merchandise, articles, materials, goods shall be permitted beyond the front lines of the building within the required yard area, street right of way, and things like that. So you can, something like it needs to be like, to the side or rear of the buildings, like no closer to the road than the building that's being used for the van mill. So it's behind there as a starting point.
what if we say that it has to be at least where the machinery shed is shown? That would give him enough space to, move around this pettibone and also to get trucks off the road to get loaded or unloaded. Would that be an acceptable recommendation?
Well, this machinery
This
should
one here.
go, this one here.
This one,
So what are you saying, like? Sorry, some movers and stuff, this is the circulation.
that's a machinery shed there, right?
Is the appropriate back to what you're saying?
I'm saying if he puts it back in here, he's got room to get his trucks around and also his pettibone unloaded.
That would be far away from the road too. So that's kind of where we
Still,
was.
still would be, like you said, still we need to get tractor trailer down here for trucks.
So we'd be comfortable with this space and things like that.
Well, initially what I was saying is nothing further front, nothing close to the road than front of the machinery building. Or we can say that it,
Or just go back past the gravel.
or that, are you on Chesto reviews?
Yeah.
Can you just take the distance? You see what that is to like the middle building from the right of way? Where's the, let's click on that. And distance. Now go here, click, right on the red line, that's the right of way, I believe. And then just, yeah, there you go. What's this say?
150.
So, 150, which 200, yeah, 200 get it back off it.
Yeah,
What if we say 200?
I think he's gonna be one to get in here anyway, you know what I mean?
If that's
Whatever this
what
is,
you're
well, this is a machinery company,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, according to his hard to read sketch.
It would be big, it would be sensible for him to keep the lots back, it's coming in now, living out here.
We'll go to the back of the building then. 210,
Yeah.
210 feet from the right of way. How about that? And are we going, if it's back that far, are we going to recommend screening? I'm not sure if the screen back that far, it's just my opinion.
It backs up to that farm, so it's like nothing to see there.
Do we have a consensus for that? Somebody want to make a motion? That, I would assume that the motion would be to support with the condition that the logs of the lumber could not be any closer than 210 feet to the right.
Make a motion support.
We're gonna also include the ag preservation. Should review this.
Yeah, I think everything's
Put
all
that
right.
in there. Yeah, I'll work.
Are you okay with that after motion? And we need a second.
I'll second.
And this would be for both the special exception, 27-1702 B2, and the variance, 27-1033 E9. Both of them together? You okay with that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And just so for my reference, that 210 foot puts us
At
to
the
the
back.
back
The
of
back
the
of the
machinery
stream,
shed?
yeah.
Okay,
Chesapeake.
all right. Yeah, that's why I just want to reference.
Okay.
Just so he would know if he, whatever,
From the right of way. Okay, we have another one, which is a zoning hearing application has been received, number 202511 of Katie Mae King. And this is to operate a short-term rental. The variance would be to section 27402A. And the location is 241 Dove Drive, which is a 2-acre parcel in the neighborhood residential zoning district.
Correct, so as part of when the short-term rental ordinance was adopted, the township identified a number of existing short-term rentals in the zoning ordinance and is working to address those and get everybody into compliance and so that they're on the inspection procedures and things like that. So this one is located at 241 Dove Drive, that is in the neighborhood residential zoning district, as Gary said. We allow short-term rentals in ag and RC by special exception, and therefore this one does require a variance for the zoning district that they are in. By all other accounts, they do meet the requirements of 27-1065, which is the new supplemental use regulations for short-term rentals. There's an aerial view, it's off the end of the Dove Drive cul-de-sac, and it's the entire house back here. That is rented. Is anybody here on behalf of this application? Okay, so the applicant is here if you guys do have questions for them, but if the variance is granted to have it here, they would still be subject to all the requirements of section 1065 regarding short-term rentals.
have any comments?
I have a question on the application for short-term rental use. This is the second page of that application, item 11. All the items are checked except for the proof of registration with the county treasurer.
Right.
Now, that's circled, so I didn't know.
That hasn't been provided yet. What we're doing is before these go to the zoning hearing board for their special exceptions, for the ones that are in ag and RC, is we're making sure that all of the requirements of 1065 are met or can be met. So that one, we feel having the septic system verification before it goes is necessary because that's a challenge to overcome. The Chester County Treasurer Office, before the actual short-term rental permit would be issued, they would have to apply to provide proof of that. But we're not holding up the zoning hearing applications for that.
And I was just wondering how the difference was between a check and a circle.
Yep, so that's the difference.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
My name is Sam King. I'm spokesman for my wife. I did talk to the Chester County Treasurer about that. I said I was asking for proof of registration for the tax, and he said, "Well, you're going through Airbnb, right?" And I said, "Yes." So Airbnb takes care of all of the taxes for us, and but I did specifically ask for the proof of registration. And he said, "I don't have any for you."
You should be able to get a report from Airbnb, and we've seen some other ones come in, and it does show on those Airbnb reports that the taxes have been remitted. So if you...
I did forward that spreadsheet to the township,
Okay,
but
then that should be fine.
Okay.
Actually, she may have sent me that one, yeah. She may have sent me that one since then, and it does have the application tax and everything on there. So that will address that comment. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions about the Airbnb? I believe based upon the reviews, I put that in the memo that's on top. I believe it's been operating for about a year, is that correct?
December of 24 was the first.
Okay. So it's coming up on a year of being used as a short-term rental at the end of this year.
Township aware of any complaints?
I have not seen any complaints about this property come through. Like I said, it does meet the lot area, septic requirements, rules, everything else that's in section 1065. It's just the zoning district, so.
Okay, you okay with it? Someone want to make a motion?
Levi, was that position of support? Okay.
Need a second? Thank you. No motion and second, any further discussion? The motion to support the variance from section 27402A. There's no further comments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Or any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the planning commission is taking the position of support. It will now go to the board of supervisors on November 12th. They'll take a position and then we send a letter to the zoning hearing board stating the township's position on that, and you'll be notified of the actual date of the zoning hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And final zoning action requested this evening is application 2025-12 for Honeybrook Golf Club located at 1422 Cambridge Road. And this will be a variance from section 27-907 to construct netting along the northwestern side of their property in excess of 6 feet in height, which is what's allowed.
Does anybody hear that? All right. So, in general, they want to put up a toll net to prevent golf balls from going onto adjoining properties. Our zoning ordinance has limitations on heights of fences. therefore, by default, they need a variance because those fence heights are extremely high. So if you want to provide any background you have, I mean, it's fairly straightforward issue and request.
Good evening. I'm Eric Stockis, also from Buffalo Bryan. I'm here on behalf of Honeybrook Golf. Jen hit all the high points. This arises as a result of kind of the evolution of the sport of golf. We have a particular hole in the golf course, like a 4, that it runs next to an adjoining property. Over the years, as golfers have gotten, I'm not going to say better, but they put more energy into the golf ball anyway. More golf balls have been going on the adjoining neighbor's property. There have been lawsuits filed over this. The golf club has paid substantial monetary damages as a result of those lawsuits in the past, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've evaluated a number of steps. They've taken a number of steps that we could go through with you tonight if you'd like. Those were insufficient. And ultimately what was determined at court case earlier this year was that there's a permanent injunction in place prohibiting the use of that hole unless and until the golf club takes steps to mitigate the golf balls running into the adjoining neighbor's property. Obviously, very difficult to run a 17-hole golf course. Some of the leadership from Honeybrook is here tonight and share some of the hardship that comes with that. But at the end of the day, there is a solution to this problem. They've hired a golf course architect, Garrett Wasson, who's here with us tonight and can answer any technical questions you might have, to design a system that's appropriate to stop those golf balls from running into the adjoining property. What Garrett came up with after evaluating lots of alternatives is the net solution that you see on the plans tonight. It necessitates one variance from the zoning ordinance, which is to alter the height of the fence. And even there, it's only because the fence gets within 20 feet of the property line. So it would have a maximum height of 75 feet. A profile is provided in the materials. I have extra copies here tonight if there's anyone in the audience that would like to see them. But in general, that is the project. And what we're requesting is a variance from that section, which is 27907, to permit what is technically a fence, but it's really a net, to a maximum height of 75 feet, where a maximum of 6 is permitted. That's it in a nutshell. So if there are questions, I'm happy to bring up Donna Horvath from the golf club and Garrett Wasson to answer any sort of technical questions.
And just the record, that net will require a commercial building permit to make sure it is installed securely from a safety standpoint. So just to.
So you're sure this is gonna stop the balls?
He is.
Okay, I hope this is it for you guys, and you guys, I mean, you have my full support, you guys run a really nice golf club over there, and, like I said, I hope this is it for you guys, and it solves the problem. So,
Yeah, thank you. We hope so too.
yeah.
So are we ready to make a motion to support?
One other question, what if that comes down in a severe storm?
Well, so the net is actually to be evaluated for the building permit. It will require a structural analysis for wind loading. The answer is it shouldn't come down in a storm. In the event that there is a major hurricane or something beyond the design wind load for it, it would fall like any other structure would. But I would imagine there would be a lot of problems in the township at that point because we'd be exceeding the wind loads for everything.
Well, we've had a lot of 500-year storms too, but they're not every 500 years, so that's imperfect.
That's true. The good news is that
Let's just say hypothetically it did come down. What would happen then in terms of replacing it?
Well, there'd be a good chance that the neighbors would then go to the Court of Common Pleas and request that the injunction be restored and prohibit the use of the property until the net could be restored. That would be my guess about what would transpire, but obviously it's hard to say.
Just make sure it falls on it.
So have you built nets 75?
We're not in public comment section yet, sorry. Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? The motion and second, any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Same as the others that will go on November 12th, Board of Supervisors agenda, and then you'll be notified about the zoning official zoning.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We're good.
one has requested to speak, we'll move to another business. And the only item we have for other business is a discussion on an anaerobic biodigester draft ordinance. And that, let you introduce kind of what, we know what this is about, we've all read through it, but kind of what the path is for this to be adopted rather quickly.
Sure. So, what's in front of you is a draft that I put together. You know, Canberra really is a copycat of the current regulations that Carnarvon has gone through many iterations to put in place as a result of their obvious challenges they've gone through. At a high level, essentially what this is permitting is on very large tracts, the type of anaerobic digesters that are bringing in outside food waste, and therefore something outside of just their own agricultural use, are permitted in the ag district with a lot of, as Ms. Schultz indicated, guardrails, setbacks and those types of things. That is, so just so you know, our ordinance already did have regulations about anaerobic digesters, and they were allowed in the ag district as an accessory use. The property size was much smaller as a minimum. They were also allowed in the business industrial. And so we've kept that as the locations. As structured here with the business industrial, they can be a principal use, whereas the regional, which is only bringing food waste from a certain radius and can only be accessory to an ag use, can be on the farm property subject to all these rules. So, yeah. And the backdrop of all of that, I don't know if the planning commission's aware, but essentially, if you're not importing someone else's food processing residuals and just processing your own manure, we can't touch it with a 10-foot pole from a zoning regulation standpoint. It is ag, it's, that's Nutrient Management Act, state ag law, totally protected, and we can't regulate. So this is trying to put the rules in effect to address what we can control. There's two things I do want to bring to the commission's attention for possible minor tweaks, and I'll run through the process, but are there any kind of initial upfront questions?
So
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
No, I just had made some notes, but it's nothing major that.
Well, and I guess I'll follow up with, so the goal right now, kind of the direction from the Board of Supervisors, especially given that the Carnarvon project has been canceled, and it's not crazy to think someone may be shopping for other locations, is to, in fact, get something on the books right away. So we put this together with haste, so to speak. I mean, I've crash course, I try to educate myself as much as I can as quickly as possible about these things, because they do exist. It's still, though, an evolving use. Everyone's learning as we go a little bit. The goal is really to have this teed up for enactment by the board in December. So we have an obligation to send these to township and county planning for at least a 30-day window before enactment. We may discover that we want to make further edits to these, but we have some other zoning cleanup things that Technicon and my office are working on in a amendment early next year that will be before you for review and for discussion. And our thought is we can make some of those, any other cleanups to this with part of that, but we just want to get this enacted so something's on the books to protect, against, not, because otherwise they could be permitted probably in certain districts where we have catch-all provisions, but there's no rules that are, setting the boundaries for what it is. So just so you understand kind of that framework and where we're going, I'm going to tell you it's not perfect, but it's definitely
Protects the township's interest on some level.
with two minor caveats that I'm going to flag, that I think we may want to make these minor tweaks and actually resubmit to county planning, like in the next few days, so that they do have the updated version ahead of when we would be enacting it in December. And maybe I'll just touch on those real quick. The first one, actually came from Mr.
My brother, yes.
Okay. There's a reference in here to the weight of trucks on township roads.
It talks about the 6,000 pounds, and that's unenforceable. And any traffic studies would count.
What is the intent of the 6,000? I think a lot of us saw that, that's a pickup truck. What was the intent of, is that gallons, is that?
I could speak to that if you like. I know I'm just the audience, but I'm very enmeshed in this. And it was a mistake on Carnarvon's behalf.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be gallons, and they put in pounds, and they are taking that out.
So is that a recommendation that
So,
you're
I
saying is
think-
a minor tweak?
Well, at the moment, until we fully vet that, my suggestion would be to just remove the second sentence that limits the trucks, but keep the portion that requires the transportation study detailing the effect of the digester on local roadways, including the effect of vehicle weight, congestion, and noise. We all know there's a lot of roads in Honeybrook that aren't ready to carry tons of heavy trucks. And so I think that study component almost in and of itself, because these will all go through a conditional use hearing, and that's the opportunity where, there's opportunity for kind of cross-examination and questioning to ensure that they've addressed those things, and if they haven't and they can't show that the roadways they need to use can accommodate it, we have opportunity to potentially impose conditions like upgrading the township roads at their expense, or certain, to address those things. Maybe we do put something more in, and sometimes with these types of uses, there's also provisions, a lot of your heavy warehouse and those kind of uses, often you'll have a rule that says, at least in a municipality like this, where you do have state roads coming through, you can only take access from a state road, or at least some kind of like major arterial road, not long. Right.
We're saying that we're not gonna allow people bringing their weight in. So what would be the concern about that?
No, they are gonna allow it within, 10 miles?
Okay.
Right.
Yes, the ones that are in the ag district, which are only accessory to the farm, are permitted, but there's a radius for how far away the material can come in. So people aren't bringing food processing residuals from, Warren County to this type of facility here on a property in the ag district. It does not prohibit that potentially if it's in the industrial, because I don't think we can prohibit where things come in. We can't prohibit the manufacturing businesses that are there from getting their supplies from fill in the blank, if that makes sense. But the traffic impact studies and those types of things obviously are relevant as to how much material trips per day would come into the facility in either of those scenarios.
I'm not asking for this to be a change, but more of a question. If business industrial, you can't regulate where it comes from, can we regulate the area that's required? Because we're talking about a farm that has 50 acres, a lot area of 50 acres, and a business industrial lot of only 10 acres, and we can't regulate where it comes in. What are they gonna do with the farm that's gonna spread it on the fields? What's the use in the BI? How are they gonna deal with it? They're gonna truck it off? Is that what the intent would be? Is that why it's 10 acres?
Potentially.
They're just gonna process and off it goes?
I mean, from,
And this brings a
I'm not
bigger
sure, I mean,
question.
it could, our BI district doesn't have a lot of land to work with for this use to lose land there anyway.
That's
Is there
correct.
any
That's
10
correct.
acre?
There's definitely 10 acre tracts, there definitely are,
But there's not many.
but there's not many.
Can we restrict that not to non-industrial area?
So it brings up another question, which is down the road, compressor station.
Mhm.
How we regulate that?
So we have in fact with this specifically indicated that those are a use, by conditional use, in the business industrial district. This doesn't have all of the, it doesn't have elaborate sets of rules for that compression station, but it at least places them so it's explicit that they are allowed in the industrial and not somewhere else.
Should there be rules around the compression?
I think there should be, and I think that's something we'll try to tackle in a follow-up amendment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so other comments like these that we have, put them in writing, send them to supervisors.
I think that would be ideal.
To you or Jan.
Yeah, because I mean, we will be continuing to look at this and refine it past a December enactment of kind of this version, and we'll be back to talk about it more.
So if we remove the second sentence in B1C, you're gonna, it will be resubmitted to the county planning, township planning. Will we still be able to get it through the system back to us, approved by the supervisors before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to address one other thing that I would include in that, other than the 6,000. There is, and again, this came straight from Carnarvon, and I think it actually is problematic as drafted, that it could be deemed totally exclusionary. There's, and candidly, I didn't even catch it and process it when I looked at it. There's a provision that says in that act that the regional ones have to be located 2,500 feet from any property line of a property which contains a dwelling. 2,500 feet is half a mile. Find me the place in Honeybrook where you can draw literally a half-mile radius from a property with a house on it. And the answer is pretty much nowhere. And so I think that we need to, and candidly, that was brought to Carnarvon. I've since learned as something they probably should be changing, but there was some resistance, and so that hasn't been changed. But my legal opinion is it's problematic, because if it, I mean, think about it, a half mile.
I don't know, I feel like there are.
I spent some time looking.
Did you?
Yeah, I spent some time on Chesto Views looking at sort of where the biggest swaths of farmland were. And it was really hard to draw any place I could put it that was 2,500 feet, because that's a half mile. Right, on all sides. And even as written, it's not even 2,500 from the dwelling, it's 2,500 from the property that contains a dwelling.
Property line.
Yeah, it's which,
Oh.
does that make like it?
From the property.
So if I've got another 100-acre farm,
But you're going from the property.
and its
line,
house
not
is
from the
a
house
whole
to the
mile away, but
barn.
it's, you know, all on that same tract, it's excluding the use from
So,
maintenance.
so you don't know what that magic number is, do you leave it in here and amend it out later?
I would recommend that we bring it back down. So here, what I'm proposing is to, and I'm in section, I'll just read you my proposal. So as written, it can't be any closer than 200 feet from any property line. This is the buildings, accessory outbuildings, or equipment. 200 feet from any property line. And then the next piece that we're talking about, or closer than the 2,500 feet from a property with a dwelling, a school, a daycare, a nursing home, retirement center, or hospital. I'm fine with all those other things.
What about the wetland issue that came up earlier?
Can we press pause on that and just, can I talk about this piece?
Well, since we were talking about 2,500 square feet, or 2,500.
Well, I know, this is about uses, and that's a natural feature, so I'm trying to just get at this piece. On the dwelling component, I would suggest to ensure that this is enforceable, we drop it down to something more like 500 or 1,000 feet from the property line of a property that contains a dwelling. You know, that's, 1,000 feet is shy of a quarter mile. That's still a decent distance, and the use, any of the structures still have to be 200 feet from a property line.
Yeah, but you're talking about aquifers. You don't really understand, I don't think, about what happens with this stuff. If the digestate leaks or anything. It carries heavy metals and PFAS and everything else. And this area,
So we're trying to get something in
I
place,
understand that. I
and
would
it
not
can be
change,
amended.
I wouldn't
and-
change anything. I would put this through. It's already gone through the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania and stood trial that 2,500 feet is a legal distance when it comes to the right to protect the people of Pennsylvania's right to clean water and clean air. Now, I'm not as eloquent as my brother, but we've done a lot of research, and so has Senator Muth, and it did pass in Carnarvon, and it did get sent back to the planning board, and the only thing that is getting changed is going back to the supervisors and being amended is about the trucks, that part, and then there was one other thing about the wetlands, and that's it. And I wouldn't mess around too much. I'm gonna get this on the books and you can fine tune it later.
So what are we gonna do with it? We wanna change it, or do we wanna leave it at 2,500 and it could be an amendment that comes out, or we reduce it now?
Well, my suggestion was, just my thoughts is, if we keep it at 2,500, that's gonna not make it too easy for anybody to do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
The township doesn't have to have every use. You can outgrow, townships can outgrow.
We're gonna keep going with this.
So what's the worst case scenario? You leave it at 2,500, somebody challenges it.
Then we're in court on the exclusionary zoning challenge. They could try to take the position that they can put it anywhere, because we don't provide a place. Because that carves, essentially makes it not possible, then the position is, our ordinance
So what are-
affecting, that it, on paper, it says we're allowing them, but in effect, because of those dimensions, functionally prohibiting them, it still is an exclusionary ordinance, even though it essentially defeats the entire purpose of making the regs in the first place, if that makes sense.
Well, you have so much growth in Honeybrook Township, you have a right to the people that live in this community to give them clean water.
What do we wanna do here? The supervisors ultimately.
I mean, they're gonna make the decision, I'm bringing it as a discussion, the version that's in front of you is what, we started with, that is what was sent to the county. I thought it was worth at least bringing that to your attention, that I thought there was a concern about it actually being enforceable.
Nothing against your comments. I'm just saying, I think if we want to look at the concerns of our citizens about the clean air, we really need to take that into consideration.
Susan?
I think we should leave it as is.
Aaron?
Keep in mind that the citizens of Pennsylvania could sue you, not just the people that want to put one in. Sorry. I'm very passionate about this.
I understand, and I think everybody agrees with you.
Yes.
As far as what the need for this is.
I'm sorry.
We don't want to put ourselves in a position that they could, like you're saying, come back and then say, well, we can put it anywhere because you excluded it. So that's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah.
That's why I'm torn about it, but if,
It's also already been approved in more than one township like this. The more townships that approve it like this, the better case we all have. This is the same thing they have in Warwick Township, Lancaster County, they have in Carnarvon, and I guarantee you there's gonna be other townships, municipalities doing the same thing in this area. Strength in numbers.
why don't we just leave it for now, and then if we find out that it could be problematic, we can address it.
I mean, call yes, I got Warwick's ordinance here, and I'm not seeing.
I have it, I think, in my bag, Gary.
I
That's where we originally got it from.
We have three people that said to leave it.
Warwick just signed a judicial consent agreement.
Yes, but they didn't change the ordinance, that was part of the agreement, because they're letting Noel do it, but they're not letting anyone else do it, and he's a bully. And that's not over yet.
I'm not trying to find,
No, I know, but
I'm trying to find the sweet spot of
I
how far
for gas and other things, but Governor Wolf was successfully sued by the Pennsylvania Environmental Fund, Defense Fund, and they won, and it was proven in the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. We have it supersedes everything that the people of Pennsylvania have the right to clean water. And believe me, there could be a lawsuit by the people of Pennsylvania, and they don't have to live in Honeybrook to sue you if you don't do this right.
There could be a lawsuit either way.
Right, I know, but
You're
most people are scared of the big corporations, but what I'm saying is you have to protect your citizens. We have the right, it supersedes all zoning to clean water and clean air in Pennsylvania.
So that the majority of the commission is to leave it the way it is, and supervisors, if they want to make that change, that's entirely up to them. And you can do some more research on, if needed.
From your perspective, is removing that sentence on the 6,000 pounds something to address, or from your perspective, should we just leave it as is for December and then do that in a cleanup? Because to me, that's the same kind of thing. If that's unenforceable, there may be other things that we're doing forward.
I'd go back and say, don't take that second sentence out, just leave it the way it is. We recommend approval, send it off to the supervisors. If the supervisors want to decide that at their next meeting, if they want to add some changes, it comes back to us. I think we still can get that in, no, we wouldn't be able to. November.
Correct, yeah, but we would have to have it to county planning with any revisions before, like by the first week.
Before the November board meeting.
But I don't think, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I still think we're in a much better position having it exactly as it's in your packet on the books. And other things like wetlands or something like that, we can discuss in a future amendment to it type of thing as appropriate, once we've had a chance to really think about it and,
So the wetland issue was a concern, but if our concern is to get this approved, then I don't think we make any changes to it. And then come back and address the wetland setback, the 6,000 pounds to gallons, and there can be further discussion on the 2,500.
I wouldn't even discuss that.
You okay with that?
At the end of the day, we're still trying to help the farmer, but we're trying to support our, protect our citizens.
All right, so ultimately, Beth, we do need a formal motion from the PC to the board that would say you recommend adoption of the ordinance as proposed. And then I'll caveat in the discussion item, those three key items, we're looking at when we look at future zoning amendments to take those items under further discussion.
Okay? Somebody want to make a motion?
There would be a motion to recommend adoption of the digester ordinance as written.
And it's ordinance 2025-213.
I didn't notice it.
No, I think that it has a number.
So it's on my sheet.
Christine, I didn't see that one.
Doesn't it usually get a number once it's approved?
Yeah, usually at the end, not when it's in draft form.
Okay.
Okay, there's nothing else pending that I'm aware of, and I usually write ordinances, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So Christine's probably right on top of
Okay,
it.
that's fine, probably the next cumulative ordinance.
To be like completely exclusionary,
Or maybe that just carried over from Christine.
yeah,
Yes,
what's the definition of like completely exclusionary? Like only would go one place, 10 places, like what is that line?
it's very fact specific. You have to provide for it somewhere. So
That's what I'm wondering, on one farm, is that sufficient, or does it have to be?
I think it needs to be more than that. I mean, it's been a while since I've had to dig into like the nuance of exactly how, because that's all been established through case law. It's not, statutes. It's this is, this isn't, and there's different, holdings from court cases over the years as to.
You don't even have an applicant in front of you, and the other things is conditional use as well, so some things can be addressed in a conditional use hearing. Also, keep in mind that the county's gonna make certain recommendations.
We need a motion and a second to close this out. So someone will make a motion.
I'll make a motion to support it as written.
A motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The number 213 is correct. The last two we adopted were 211 and 212. Yes. Okay. As a reminder, your secretary includes the board meetings, the 12th.
The 12th, I
The
said
planning
13th.
commission for November and December were the second Thursday. So we're November 13th, and then I think it's like December 11th. And I believe we will have agenda items for both of those. So check your schedules, if you can't make the meeting, let me know, just so I'm not worried about forms, if anybody gets sick or anything else. So.
Any other comments from the commission? Ask for a motion and a second to adjourn. Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah. I got, no, sorry.
I know. I want to apologize for being so out of line, but it's really hard to understand this issue. I've been living
You know the
in...
mic, you know the camera's still on.
I don't care, I'm not saying anything bad.
All right.
I'm just telling you, person to person, we all drink the same water, we all want a clean planet. And I have been living this since I got forced into it in last December. And I'm not an expert, I'm not my brother, but I've learned a lot. It's very complicated, but you don't have to have, if the townships outgrow you can't offer every use sometimes. They can't put one in the middle of Philly, you outgrow it. So we stop being worried about being sued. Let's worry about the citizens of the community. That's who elected the supervisors. That's where this is where you live. You gotta be there for your community. When our water's gone, we are gone. Don't forget that.
Right,
Okay?
And you know what Joe's opinion of this was. Approve it as it.
Right, it was, exactly. And he's not here to help you guys stay strong. And I am, and I'm just not as eloquent as him, and I'm sorry. I'm just passionate. But you guys, thank you very much for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
My intention is not to in any way undermine or